Hi guys, thank you for joining us and welcome to this masterclass we're doing again, and in a very special location. I'm Craig Watson. I look after the Mackmyra here in the UK with the rest of my team, which is a great team. And I would like to introduce my amazing co-host, great guy I've known for a long time, good friend, Ben Bowers. And I'll let Ben do a little introduction for himself in a minute. And guys, we're going to do some of our core range stuff and we're going to do the limousine tonight. I hope you really enjoy this. And Ben, do you want to do a quick introduction for yourself?
Yes, indeed. Craig has just lied to you completely. Amazing guy, good friend, all absolute nonsense. But yes, I am Ben Bowers. This is my shop. It's called the Spirit Specialist. It's in a market town, I suppose you call it, called Howden, which is in Yorkshire. So if you know any of England, the M62, which goes across from Manchester to Hull, between essentially Leeds and Hull, Howden is on junction 37 of the M62. So if you did want to come and say hello, I've run this place since November 2020. So in the UK, we went into a second full lockdown on Tuesday, November the 3rd, I think it was, and I opened that Saturday. So yeah, it's been challenging, it's been interesting. I previously worked for the whiskey shop, and prior to opening this place, I was working for Gordon MacPhail, which if you're into whiskies, I'm hoping you'll have heard of them. I used to work with Craig, who was a brand ambassador for another brand that we used to deal with, but we're not going to talk about them anymore. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and I've got some offers on the bottles that I'm selling. So there is going to be a code. Now, I can see that there are a few people from Holland, and I've seen Ireland, and if it's not Northern Ireland, we might have an issue. So unfortunately, at the moment, I can't ship outside of the UK, which is an absolute pain in the backside, and it's driving me nuts. But unfortunately, because of Brexit and everything like that, at the moment, I can only ship to UK addresses. So if you're in Northern Ireland, not a problem. Isle of Man, fine. Republic of Ireland, sorry, no. Holland, all the other people that I can see that are on from outside of that, I hate this, but unfortunately, now I know you can get direct through Mackmyra, so that's absolutely fine. But if you're in the UK, don't buy from Mackmyra, buy from me, because I've got kids to feed, and I've got 3 kids, so I've got lots of kids to feed as well. So yes, that's me, and it's not just whiskey. So this is kind of the whiskey room that we're in. It makes it sound like the shop's absolutely huge. I've got a room the same size, which is gin and rum and vodka and everything like that. So you can buy online. Carl will put the website address up, but I do have a website and a YouTube channel where I do random review videos and things like that. So please do check it out.
Right, thanks Ben, thanks for a great introduction. And like Ben said, you know, for the guys outside of the UK, you can get direct from Mackmyra. You know, go to our website, all of our products are listed there. It's a great chance to have a look around and see all the other stuff we're doing. So do you want to get started tonight, Ben?
Let's do it.
Let's crack on. Right. So guys, hope you've got your first dram ready. Obviously our first dram tonight is going to be Mac.
I nearly dropped it. That's not a good start. So we have the Mac. Oh. If I'd have known you were going to put a picture up, I wouldn't have nearly dropped it on the floor. So there it is in the flesh.
So obviously you guys, a lot of you guys will be new to the distillery. Some of you guys will be, we've seen quite a few of our good friends, our good supporters of the brand. So Max, I hate to say it's our entry level whiskey, but it is kind of is that. But it's such a lovely whiskey, predominantly American oak casks. I just love the nose.
It's so fruity. It's so easy to drink. It's ridiculous. It's dangerously easy to drink.
Yep, and to me, I get that fruitiness is there. I get that little bit of spiciness from that American oaks that comes through. But for more than anything else, the fruitiness that comes from our distillate, you know, knowing that we've got a really light and fruity distillate when we do that, just see it coming through here straight away.
I'm getting pineapple on this now. So it's like there's raisins and sultanas and fruitcake and everything like that, but there's like a tropical fruit vibe going on as well. Kind of just underlying that dark fruits, there's then this tropical kind of like mango, pineapple, that sort of feel to it as well. Now, I've put this on a few tastings, and it's been one where there's been some people that have gone, oh, I'm not really that keen on it. And it tends to be people that kind of think of themselves as proper whiskey drinkers. And, you know, oh, it's far too easy to drink, like it's a bad thing. You know, and as a sort of introduction, you know, this is absolutely something that I get people come in the shop and they go, "Oh, Swedish whiskey. I didn't know Sweden did whiskey." But they say that about the rest of anything that's not Scottish. And it's like, well, try the Mac as the introduction to where it then goes from there. And it's, you know, it's not just a really good introduction to Mackmyra, but it's also a really good introduction to whiskey as a whole. You know, so it's a whiskey for non-whiskey drinkers. And there are some people that kind of turn their nose up at that and go, "Oh, well, you know, it doesn't have enough depth and complexity." It's got bags of depth and complexity. Yeah. You know, it gets. It really annoys me when people kind of dismiss Mac and kind of like, "Oh, you know, it's not the proper whiskey the rest of the range is." And I love this stuff. It's so good. And it's really good in cocktails as well.
Yeah, it's a really great all-round whiskey from Mackmyra. You know, it's great as that nice sipping whiskey with a group of friends. You just want to sit there, chat. You want something that's nice. It's got some depth to it. And you can just sit there and have a nice evening. Like Ben said, works great in cocktails. You know, it's very versatile, very all-round whiskey. I really do love this one. And for me, like you said, I get a lot of people that kind of, because it's 40%, they're not over keen on it.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a cask strength whiskey every time you're having a whiskey, from my point of view. There's times you want to be able to enjoy a whiskey and have more than 1 dram or 2 drams. You know, you want 3 or 4 with friends when you're having a good time. And this is the perfect time to do that. Yeah,
if you've got a bunch of friends and you might be with some friends on, like, I don't know, a weekend away or something like that, and there might be some that kind of aren't really into whiskey but might try it, and you've got other whiskey drinkers that kind of like, you know, that somebody might turn up and they've got a heavily peated whiskey, and people that aren't into whiskey really struggle with that. This is one of those drams where pretty much everybody's going to go, "Oh, that's really good, really enjoy it," and then you can enjoy each other's company with it, because it doesn't have that intense peatiness or anything like that half the room might go, "Ooh, it's not really for me." This is absolutely one that basically everybody in the room is really, really going to enjoy.
Yeah, and we're getting some nice comments. I'll then have a look as well. So, you know, got some there. You know, can it take water? Yes, it can take water. It wouldn't take a lot, just a couple of little bits, you know. And I like the banana. Banana's quite a common one that we get.
Foam bananas.
Yes.
Foam bananas. Absolutely, foam bananas is the one.
Yeah, and I love the taste like a good party. Such a great comment.
I want to be invited to your parties because that sounds really good.
It does. So, but yeah, and to be honest, it's very light, very fruity, very easy drinking, you know, and smooth. A lot of people don't like saying smooth, but this is a smooth whiskey. You know, it is easy to say that.
Silky.
Yes.
Silky. Get rid of the words. I hate the word smooth. Silky. That will do. Anyway, I'm not going to go on and rant on that. It's because everybody will switch off.
Yes,
Jesus, he's off again. Right. So yeah. So I have got this on. I don't know what you guys are selling at. I've got this on at normally $34.99, but there is a code that's available if you're buying online, or if you want to come in the shop and basically say, "I was on the call and here's the code." So it's TSS, the Spirit Specialist, Mackmyra, all capital letters. If you put that in as a promo code, now it should take £5 off every bottle, but it's a kind of a system that's been built for the shop by a couple that live in the same village as me that have done an amazing job, but there's still little kinks and quirks in it. And it might be that if you put the code in, it will only work once. And if you're wanting to buy more than 1 bottle, because you do want to buy more than 1 bottle, if you put 3 or 4 in the basket, or 6, and put that code in, it might just knock £5 off, and that's it. So if you are wanting to buy more than 1 bottle and you're finding the code's not working and you can't be bothered to do like individual sales, because you can do click and collect or you can do shipping. So if it was a case of like, I want to buy a few of them, if you spend over 150 quid, you get free shipping anyway. Get in touch with me and I will sort something out to put it through the till one way or the other, where you'll get £5 off every bottle that you buy of Mackmyra if you're on tonight. I'm going to put the code on for a week, maybe longer, depends how generous I'm feeling. So this is normally $34.99, so that will obviously knock it down to $29.99, which is a ruddy bargain, I think you'll find.
It is. And, you know, like I said, it's a great introduction to our distillery. You know, this is a distillery that's based an hour and a half north of Stockholm in Gävle. You know, we've been around since 1999, and it's, you know, we're doing really, really well. I think for me, the liquid we produce is some of the best liquid I've tasted around. You know, and I've been around a while, and as you can see,
he has really been around. Can't get rid of him.
But yeah, I've been around a while. I've tasted quite a lot of whiskies. You know, my family is originally from Scotland, even though I've been brought up in Yorkshire. So, you know.
Gee, you can't tell with that accent.
Yeah, best of both worlds. Hey, there's nothing wrong with both of your places.
Yeah, true, yeah.
So, but yeah, it's been a great time. You know, and I really do love this whiskey. I love the distillery. I've been lucky to go out there and visit, and I'm lucky that I'm going out again soon to go and visit again. So, you need to spend more money with us.
Yeah, all right, fair enough, yeah. Well, if these people buy them, then I'll spend more money with you, and then I'll get to go to Sweden. Awesome. Right, that sounds like a deal.
But yeah, guys, I'm loving the comments that you've got coming through for it. Really do like the way you guys really do support us and support the brand. I hope you really like it. I will let Ben, when he's ready, move on to our second whiskey of the night.
So this might be a bit tricky because the thing is, Brooks. I don't sell Brooks. Brooks isn't the one that I don't list. So you can see my Mackmyra range on the top, and it's basically everything but Brooks. And it's literally because I would have had too many on there. But if you want some, I'll get it in. So message me, email me, that sort of thing. If you turn around and go, do you know what? Out of all of them, the Brooks is the one, and I want to buy it off you because you're such an amazing bloke. His words, not mine. Then I'll get some in, and I'll do you a price cut, and you'll get that £5 off. So I don't actually know how much I'd sell it for because I can't remember what the cost price is. But whatever it is, it's £5 off. Yep. But this was kind of, so this is like the next level up.
It is. So Brooks was kind of one of the first whiskies we actually, as our core range, we brought to the UK. You know, this is our new Brooks vintage.
He's not put the picture up, has he? There you go. That's what it looks like.
You know, it's our Brooks vintage. So again, predominantly bourbon casks, a little bit of Oloroso in there, something we call smoke tails. Just a lot more complex whiskey, bottled at 41.4%. The one thing I love about our Brooks is the box and the bottle tell the story of our distillery. From our first little 30-litre still to our first distillery.
Yeah, so that's right. So on the camera, so that's the first distillery. That's the original one, and then there is Gravity, which is 7 stories.
Yes, 35 meters tall.
Oh, get in there. So 7 stories, and it basically uses gravity to go through the entire process to save essentially energy from going through the whole process. So it, essentially barley goes in at the top, and it drops down as they go through each level of the process, and then at the bottom comes whiskey in barrels.
Yes, and to be honest, along with the gravity part of it, the fact that we use quite a modern distillery, heat exchangers, etc., and everything else, makes us roughly around 40% more energy efficient than a traditional distillery. Something that we're quite proud of. So yeah, it's something I really am quite keen to emphasise. You know, as a company, we try to be sustainable and as environmentally friendly as we possibly can.
Yeah. So he says the story is on the box in pictures form, unless you can read Swedish, because I've just had a look at that. Now, the only thing basically I can get from that is marzipan. And yeah, definitely marzipan. I kind of get a slight appley note from it as well, but there is definitely that slightly, not sweet marzipan, but kind of like slightly drier almondy marzipan, that kind of really pale marzipan that you get,
like the Christmas cake.
Yeah, that's like a little bit drier. It's not quite as sweet as that big, thick yellow stuff that you tend to get.
More like the proper traditional Christmas cake.
Yeah, but kind of like apple tart and tart tatin and that sort of feel as well. Kind of like baked apple and caramel. Again, that kind of sweet fruitiness, but just a little bit lighter. And did you say there's a little touch of smoky element in there as well? Is there a little bit of things in there?
No, we have a little bit of what we call our smoke tails.
Right,
so kind of where we run through.
I think that's what's given me that slightly caramelized, kind of like caramelized top of a creme brulee, that sort of thing that's not quite charred, but has that just ever so subtle burnt sugar feel to it. So
we've got a few comments coming up here. Some of them are wanting to ask a few questions. You know, one Shilton Amida asking where is
Shilton?
Yep.
Shilton? Surely he's barred.
Yep, asking where his trip to Sweden is. Well, it's in the line.
Look, mate, if I can't get one, you definitely aren't getting one. All right, me first. Get out of it. I'd say I'm fighting for it, but he battered the what's.
We've got actually someone asking for the name of the presenters. So the gentleman here is Ben Bowers. I'm Craig Watson. So sorry.
So you can strike them from your memory,
yes,
and like scrub all record of them on the internet.
Yes, I'm getting some nice notes, aniseed, licorice, you know.
Oh,
And yeah, I actually do get a little bit of that.
Yeah.
No, you can definitely get that there.
That's absolutely one of those tasting notes where when somebody else says it, you're like, that's what it is. There was something in there that I couldn't pick up, but and aniseed more than licorice, but absolutely, yeah. And now I can't smell anything but yeah.
Yeah. And for me, that little bit of smokiness that's there, it's more like a heavy char.
Yeah.
You know, really, really nice.
It's one of those great noses where, and so I have a YouTube channel with the shop, so it might be that you might have come across that, and you probably noticed I ramble quite a lot, but I've found that I can spend almost more time nosing a whiskey than I can actually drinking it. And the ones that I love is the ones where you come back to it and it changes. Something else comes out. And whether it's just the time spent in the glass or just the sheer complexity within it, the fact that you can nose it and you get something different and then you nose it again and it keeps changing, it keeps evolving. That's what the very best whiskies and spirits as a whole should be doing. It should always be giving you something new, something different. And absolutely that does.
Yeah, it is thing. And for me, you know, again, like Mac, Brooks is a very versatile whiskey. You know, it's great to use in cocktails, great to drink on its own. But yeah, I think for me, this was kind of the first whiskey that introduced me to Mackmyra.
Yeah.
Going back, 2015, roughly, when I first got introduced to Mackmyra. And I fell in love with it then. I was kind of on a voyage of finding whiskies from around the world. Someone had said, have you tried the Swedish whiskey? And introduced me to this.
Yeah.
And that was it. When I tried it, I was kind of like, actually, that's really, really nice. It's got a maltiness there. It's got a fruitiness there. It's kind of got everything, sweet, savoury, and a really nice balance.
You could absolutely understand if Mackmyra used Brooks whiskey as their entry level, as their introduction. But I can see why they've done what they did with Mac, which kind of softens it and adds a little bit more of that fruitiness to make it more approachable to it doesn't really sound very fair saying it, but more of a mainstream market, whereas this has just a little bit more refinement. It's just a little bit lighter. It just allows more of the lighter notes to kind of really kind of come out and play on the palate as well.
Yeah.
It's an absolute belter, man. It really is. Why have I not got it on the shelf? I'm an idiot. So,
I know. I keep telling you that, but
I know, yeah. Well, yeah, I'll just ignore you. So,
as per usual. But yeah, no, I think it's a great whiskey myself. And like I said, it's a great, the introduction, you know, we start with Mark and that's really nice and simple. But actually, I think most people generally start with Brooks whiskey, you know, which is a shame because Mac is such a good one. But Brooks as that entry level point is amazing. And I think it really does shock a lot of people when you give them that dram for the first time.
Yeah,
and they try it and they see the depth of complexity in there. You know, and because of how light that distillate is, you know, it's just that fruitiness carries on all the way through to the very end. You know.
So apparently we have a question about ABV. So I know I'm looking like this and squinting like I'm a really old man.
Me and Ben are actually getting on a bit. Our eyesight is terrible.
There is that, and also it's quite a way away, and the text is really, really small. But I think it's just come up. Was there a particular reason for the ABV? 41.4 is very specific in a good way. Do you want to answer that? Because I can answer it, but I'd ramble. So you go for it.
The simplest way I can do for us is generally most of our whiskies are done at 46.1, which seems to be the perfect sweet spot for us. The 41.4, you know, it was just what we felt was appropriate for the Brooks at the time. We've done it, and it's never really changed. You know, that's where we've stayed. If you want to add Joe a little bit to it.
Yeah, so a lot of producers will, and so if you weren't aware, because some people might not be, 40% is the legal minimum for it to be called whiskey. So if it goes below 40%, even in cask, you can't call it whiskey based on Scotch whisky regulations, which pretty much the rest of the world kind of adheres to. So what producers will do is, right, we are going to release a bottling and it's going to be part of our core range. So they will essentially go down from cask strength and they will literally add drop by drop by drop and taste it. Not all in one go because it's a bit difficult, but over the course of time, you end up coming to that level where it's where you feel the alcohol strength, the ABV, is at the level where it's offering the most amount of flavors that it can give without being overpowering. If it's too high, the alcohol dominates. If it's too low, and what's sort of happened in the market recently is you used to get a lot of new releases will come out and they'd be 40%. But as tastes have evolved and whiskey's become more popular and people are a lot more analytical about it, it's kind of become almost accepted that actually 40, although that's the minimum, a lot of whiskies are better at 43, 46. My previous employer, Gordon MacPhail, they bottled pretty much everything at 43. And in the last few years, they've rebranded and actually re-released at 46 because that balance of alcohol and flavour and it allowing to kind of accentuate flavours that were within it that were kind of lost when it was diluted down too much. It's getting that balance. So the team at Mackmyra would have gone with Brooks and gone literally 41.5 is actually a little bit too much. 41.3, not quite enough. It's that minutiae, and then you pretty much, in some cases, you know, if it's always been 41.4, that becomes part of that house style where you do vintages with Brooks whiskey, but it's always going to be 41.4 because you want to maintain that consistency all the way through.
And that's literally it. That's what we originally launched at. That's where we are. You know, like we said, it's the perfect sweet spot for that whiskey. A lot of the other whiskies are done at 46.1, which we found actually works better for those. You know, it really does come down to the individual expression at the time. Like I said, I love the Brooks because it tells a story. It tells a story on the box, tells a story on the bottle. One of the things I would like to say about our whiskies, as we said with the distillery, we try to be as environmentally friendly as possible. So all of our cardboard boxes are recyclable. They're made from recyclable materials as well, same as the glass. And actually, the corks. If Ben could just show you the cork.
I thought you were coming in for a hug then.
No, not quite.
I
I haven't had that many drinks yet.
All right, okay. Right, I'm going to have to pour in bigger measures then. Right, so the cork. Right.
So we use...
Hang on, camera.
Yeah, so if you actually show them the symbol and the wood.
That one, yeah.
So a lot of our...
Is that the right? That's the right way.
That's the right way up, yes. So that is
But
actually
then if you turn it that way, it's a Glencairn.
made from recycled casks. So we do try to be as upcycle and recycle as much as we possibly can.
Okay, question for you.
Yes.
What's that? What's the logo of?
So what do you think the logo's
I
on?
have no idea. That's why I'm asking you.
So the logo is actually...
It looks like a man.
It's actually...
It's you.
It's
He's bald and he's quite big. It's you.
No, well,
All
yeah.
right.
The best way I could describe it, it would be it's kind of an agricultural or industrial staple.
Oh, right, cool.
So it's actually on the side of our original distillery wall,
Right.
on the entrance.
Awesome. I never knew that.
So yes.
Every day's a school day. Right.
Are we ready?
Yes. Now, I'm going to do something a bit different. You're going to talk about Svensk in terms of what it tastes like,
Yes.
and I'm going to make a cocktail.
So
You weren't expecting that, were you? You're like, oh, crap.
No,
All right.
I know what I'm doing.
You know what you're doing. At least one of us does. Right.
Well, I'm supposed to know.
So you talk about Svensk in terms of the whiskey itself. I am going to pour a little bit, so I am going to try on its own.
Yeah. So the next step up will be the Svensk. This will be our next dram for tonight. Now we're really starting to get to what I think this is quintessential Mackmyra. You know, I do love the brand, I do love the whiskies, but for me, this is, if you ask me to find that one expression that shows our distillery, I will point you to Svensk. Very similar makeup to the Brooks, but we take 10% of what we're using from the Brooks casks and we finish them for a minimum of 18 months in virgin Swedish oak casks. So you'll get that nice sweetness. There's a little bit more spiciness there on the nose. It's a little bit more robust.
Yeah, I should probably actually. It's the spiciness.
Yeah.
That's that kick of spice that comes through. It's so well done.
Yeah, and it's such a lovely dram on its own. But that Swedish oak, that really does give that little bit. For me, it gives kind of a hibiscus spiciness. You know, it's got sweetness there, but it's also got that sort of hibiscus herbal note there.
Are you wondering what I'm doing?
I'm just leaving it.
Right, and this is partly the fault of somebody that was former of your parish. So over the weekend, so we've just had Easter weekend. I'm big into cocktails, and I kind of basically made almost like a kind of an Easter themed old fashioned, where I had a few bits and pieces in my garage, not liquor cabinet, it's all in my garage, and I kind of spotted I've got some chocolate bitters and there was some orange liqueur, and I've just bought a coffee rum in. So I kind of threw some bits and pieces together that was essentially like a chocolate orangey old fashioned type thing. And then Mickey, because I posted it up on my Facebook feed and I'd used Redemption Rye, American rye, you can't get that over in the UK. And then Mickey commented on it saying, oh, Svensk a bit like a rye whiskey. Maybe you should try it with that. And it, because of that spiciness that it's got, it is very evocative of that kind of classic American spicy rye. So what I've done is, this is exactly the same as what I made. I don't have ice. That's the only problem. So I'm not able to stir it with some ice, that sort of thing. And I don't have any orange peel. But this is Svensk Ek with Wester coffee rum, which is from Glasgow. I've got some Cardinal Mendoza Angelus orange liqueur, but you could use a triple sec or something like that. And then chocolate bitters, which I've got one bottle of, but I'm feeling my parents might be buying it. So essentially chocolate bitters. So it's like chocolate orange coffee, but then also that rye whiskey element as well. So I am kind of bodging it, but after Mickey said it and knowing that I was going to be on this, it was like, let's give it a go. So that spiciness really comes through.
It does.
Absolutely.
And for me, you know, it's the same thing I said earlier, you know.
Oh my God. Oh, that's so good. Oh, I wish I had some ice. If it was just chilled just a little bit. Oh, wow. Mate, that's so much. Do you want to try that? Oh, wow. That's really, really good. That spiciness that comes through from the egg. It's like a dark chocolate orange, Terry's chocolate orange. But then that spiciness comes through as well. That's purely from the egg.
That's gorgeous. Keep that away from the wife.
Wow. Nailed it. Yes.
I'll have to keep that away from the wife, otherwise I'll lose all my whiskey.
Yeah, so if there's any cocktail people in there, Ek as an old-fashioned base, really, really good.
So let's have a quick look at the comments. Best of the three so far. Thank you. I really do think this is, you know, Mackmyra through and through. The Swedish oak, something we are very proud of using. You know, it's a very slow-growing oak, as you would know yourself. But for me, you know, when we take a tree down, it's not an overnight decision. We take a lot of time choosing the tree. We take a lot of time deciding which one we're going to use. Obviously, when we take that tree down, we plant others in, you know, to replace it. But then we've got 4 years where we sort of leave that tree to season and dry out. Then we send it to our third generation cooper, who will turn it into casks before we actually get all of it. So it can be 4.5, 5 years from the day we decide on which tree we're going to use to when we actually get a cask. Yeah. So it's not a long, it's a quite slow process for us.
Yeah.
But then when you taste the whiskey and you taste what Swedish oak does to our whiskey, it's well worth the wait.
And I think a lot of people don't realise that the tree that's made the cask itself could be like 100 years old. Yeah. So there is all this history involved with it. So we're on 3 of 5 in your tasting set. One thing I do need to remind people, because I always forget to remind them when I do my own tasting events, is the bottles that you got in your sample pack. There's this amazing invention that's called a lid. So you don't need to drink the whole sample. And actually, it's really, really good. Yes. And this is because I always say it too late, is that if you've still got some Mac and some Brooks in the bottle, save a little bit and maybe go back to it, because as you're tasting things, your palate's developing, you're kind of getting used to like different flavors coming through, and going back to, you might possibly, God forbid, you might have thought that Mac didn't really have that much to it, but it might be that if you go back to it after having a couple of others, you're thinking, oh, actually, this has got a lot more to it, because I always kind of make myself laugh when I say it, because it sounds such like a really kind of like uppity thing to say. But I can't think of a better word than saying your palate, your senses have become attuned to tasting stuff. And somebody, please give me a better word than that, because whenever I say the word attuned, I just go, but you might get more from the Mac having left some in the bottle, or if you've got separate glasses, but you don't have to drink the whole lot. Because, you know, this is 5 samples and it's technically a school night. Yeah. So, you know, we've all got to get up for work in the morning. So let's not go completely silly. So, yeah, just be aware of that. But if you want to go back to the others, you might get something different out of it.
Yeah. And everyone's saying, you know, they love the fact that the oak's singing to them. You know, I really do like that. They're quite big bottles for a school night. Yes, they are, which is why we suggest you say something.
That's why I just remembered to do that, yeah.
So, but yeah.
I don't know. There might be some teachers in the room, and actually they're not big enough, because I know what teachers go. Although it's Easter holidays for some, isn't it? So yeah, some I think went back this week, so they might well be kind of like, I need a full bottle.
But yeah, and please, if you have got this, try it with a drop of water. You know, it really does actually open it up a lot more when you try it with the water.
Yeah, so you've got this as 46.1.
Yes, it's 46.1. Everything we're going to try from here onwards will be 46.1%.
Yeah, and some people get really uppity about adding water, that sort of thing. Now, I had somebody in the shop today who said like, "Oh, I always add water to it," and it's like, well, even if you've not tried it before, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I always put water in it." It's like, well, at least give it a chance, and then if you want to add water to it, if it's 40%, you put water in. Legally, you're not drinking whiskey. Give it a chance at least. There was like one guy that came in. I'll never forget him because he said like he wouldn't drink anything above 46%. I was like, why? He said, oh, because I always go a bit squiffy if I drink. If I drink anything over 45%, I go a bit squiffy. I was like, right, we can put water in it. And he was like, oh no, I'm not adding water to it. So it was like, you could just put less in it. You just literally put less in your glass. That's all you need to do. But people have these traditions and, they only put water in it. If you want to put water in it, not a problem at all. It's your sample. You've paid for it. It's your whiskey. You do what you need to do to enjoy it. You want to put water in it? Fine. Coke, not a problem. Iron Brew, fine. Monster, yeah. But, it's you like what you like. And we cannot sit here and go, don't put water in it. That's wrong, because there is no wrong way to drink these. It's just enjoying it. And we're all individual. I like different things to Craig because he's a bit weird, but we like our different things. So whatever we need to do to enjoy it. So if you're sitting with this and going, oh, actually, it would be really nice if I put Coke with it. Go for it. Enjoy it.
Honestly, mine and Ben's philosophy is there's no wrong way to drink this. We might not necessarily want to drink it the way you drink it, but actually it comes down to how you're going to enjoy it. Make sure you're enjoying the dram. That's what it's all about. That, and enjoy the company you're with.
Yeah. Which is a little bit iffy. Right, should we go on to the next?
We can do.
Yes. I love this one. I absolutely love it. Do you want me to talk about this one?
Please.
So yeah, go on.
Maybe just do a quick.
Oh yeah. Go on then. Yeah.
The next one, to be honest, this is quite a special one for us. So I did the launch of this just a few weeks ago. So Limousin, it's our 10th generation cognac casks that we've used. This, for me, it's the final seasonal we're launching. It's our latest spring-summer seasonal. It's the perfect way to go to end what's been a fantastic range. A range for me that has kind of been what Mackmyra has been about. Quality whiskies that are a little bit different. The casks that we've used, and we've done some amazing seasonals. One of my favorites was one of the first ones I got introduced with, Blomstertider, which was a cherry wine cask. That just blew me away when I first tried it. Our last autumn winter, the Crown Rock with the smoky Oloroso casks in our 30-litre cask was another one.
Skirted was the one for me, the Massey-Amarone.
Yes.
Oh my God, what a whiskey that was. That was incredible. So good.
And we've done so many. So to finish on, to me, what is a definition of a luxury whiskey with the Limousin Oak is perfect way. So I'll pass over to Ben to let him talk about how much he really loves this whiskey, and he does really love this whiskey.
I absolutely adore this, and I knew I was going to fall for this because this was in collaboration with a cognac house called Maison Ferrand. And Maison Ferrand not only do fantastic cognacs, but they also own, so Alexandre Gabriel, who is the founder, not the founder, but he's the current owner of the Maison Ferrand. They also, he was the one that set up the Plantation rum brand. Now I'm big into my rums as well, and I absolutely love Plantation. And what they do with the rums is they bring them across to Maison Ferrand, and then all the blending and marrying and finishing that they do is in cognac casks. So it's rums that are on a slightly sweeter side, but I found myself recently really becoming keen on anything that's got any kind of cognac finish. So as soon as Craig said, oh, we've got our final seasonal coming out, it's a cognac cask finish that's from Maison Ferrand, I was like, yes, sign me up. This is going to be absolutely amazing. And I've not even tried it yet. And it ticks every single box for me. Now, when I first tried it, I was getting a lovely, rich, decadent, sweet note, but it wasn't quite salted caramel. There was a fruitiness in it as well. There was tart tatin going through, but I've literally just nosed it now. And again, that kind of what I was saying earlier in terms of nosing and getting something different every time. On this, I'm sort of getting a really slight sweet mintiness, almost like you know, Fry's chocolate cream.
Yes,
They do that mint fondant, and I'm getting that this time. It just keeps giving, and that's just, I've not even sipped it yet.
No,
that's just on the nose. There is so much going on the nose.
Yeah.
I could sit for an hour just chilling, just nosing it, and that's it. And that, you know, I could literally just have a tiny little bit in the glass, and that's all I need. That's me done for the evening. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. From my point of view, this is one that, you know, when we were giving our sample bottles, I tried it. I was amazed. Like Ben said, I poured a nice little glass for myself and sat down just to go through and get accustomed to it. And before I realised it, I realised I spent an hour sat there just sort of nosing, little sip, nose again. And over that period, you see how much it changes, how much it develops, how many other levels of sort of flavours that come through.
Yeah. And what's great on the palate is that you could nose it and go, oh, it is sweet. And I sort of liken this, I liken it to a dessert whiskey. So I remember when I was doing the YouTube video for this, it was, you know, this is more of a dessert whiskey. This is like an after, or you could almost replace a dessert just with a dram of this. But there's still spiciness going on. There's still like elements of like cinnamon buns with icing sugar on the top. There is a little bit of dryness because the danger is that it becomes sweet, slightly minty, and then it just dies and there's nothing left to it. But this doesn't. This keeps on giving, and you end up getting kind of that little touch of like warm oak. You get kind of like soft spices coming through, and that just lifts the finish and just keeps it going all the way through.
Yeah. The mouthfeel for me is the one thing that really starts to stand out once you start going. Coats the mouth so nice, and that finish, like you said, just keeps going and going and going. You know, I've seen me have a sip of this, and you know, 3-4 minutes later, you still got that little aftertaste.
Yeah,
and it's such a great whiskey to do that. But from start, as soon as you pour it in the glass, to the point where you actually take your first sip, till you sat there with the finish, it's just luxury all the way through.
Yeah,
and it's a fitting way for our seasonals to go out. You know, it's a shame in some ways because when they're this good, you kind of want to keep on going and going and going.
Yeah.
But if you're going to finish, you're going to finish on a high note, and I don't think they could get any higher.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's that's what I've loved about the seasonals is they've taken that kind of core Mackmyra profile and just taken it in different directions. Now, so I've just realised I didn't actually tell you what I was selling. And it's my shop. I'm such a bad salesman. I never told you how much I was selling the Svensk Ek for. I think because the Brooks whiskey threw me and I have no idea how much that's going to be. But the Svensk Ek and also this. So the deal is still applicable. So if you use that code, TSS Mackmyra, you will get £5 off every bottle. So the Svensk Ek, and I need my bit of paper because I can't quite remember how much I was selling it for. So the Svensk Ek would normally be $49.99. So you'll get £5 off that at $44.99. The Limousin is normally $59.99, so you'll get £5 off that. But even at 60 quid, I think it's still really, really good value for money for the complexity that's in there. But not just that, because you might see behind my head is I've also got the Björksav, which is the previous seasonal to this. So I have some available. You'll get £5 off that if you want the Björksav. Now the Björksav was birch sap. So there was birch sap wine casks as part of the overall maturation. So not all of it, but it was. This came out at the same time as Björksav this year.
Yeah. And
Björksav was very much a spring whiskey, and it really was evocative of spring. It was like so. I did a Mackmyra event when this came out, pretty much the same time last year. It's light, it's floral, it's delicate. I love the Björksav. I think I actually prefer the Limousin because I like the richness. This is very much a spring whiskey. Limousin is more for me kind of autumnal. It's like it's
sunset.
Yeah, it's kind of it's not winter, but it's starting to get a little bit chilly. The leaves are turning brown. There's still sun out, but it's just there's a little bit of a nip in the air, and you kind of like you just want to warm a little bit, and you want that warm spiciness. But I still have some bottles of this on the shelf. So you'll get £5 off that if you want one. And what I can also do is if you buy a bottle of Mac, or you buy a bottle of Svensk Ek, or you buy a bottle of Svensk Rook, which we're going to get to, I will actually give you a little mini sample bottle of the Björksav because I have a sample bottle that is kind of like, well, try some of this because I think this is absolutely fantastic as well. So we don't have it in the tasting pack, but take my word for it, you may have already had it. I think this is an absolute belter. But the Limousin, personally, it ticks more boxes for me. It's that rich, warm, slightly spicy. It's kind of like, it's not necessarily, it's really cold outside, I want to start
the tail end of summer.
But it's absolutely, you've had a really good meal and you want to sit down and you just want to kind of relax. And I think this is probably, I don't smoke cigars, but I think this is probably a really good pairing whiskey to go with a, not particularly kind of dry, but a lighter cigar. I reckon this would go with. I mean, I don't know how many people smoke cigars anymore, but whiskey and cigars is a really good pairing, and I think this is what we used to do. We used to work with a couple of shops that did cigars, and we used to do whiskey tastings where they'd sit in the shop and smoke cigars. We'd come out absolutely reeking as well. My wife hated it. I used to have to take all my clothes and let them dry out in the garage. But if I was still working for G&M, that would absolutely be one that we'd put on it's a cigar pairer, absolutely bang on. But yeah, very much a kind of, with a dessert, something like tarte tatin, again, that fruitiness.
Yeah, and I like Gerard's comment of almond and Calvados.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Calvados, yeah. Now, Apple Blurn was the Calvados one that you did, wasn't it? And that, for me, was, personally speaking, was a little bit too light, but you got that appliness. But there is that apple note in there, and it does feel like a warm Calvados. Absolutely, yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, good shout.
I completely get that. And we did have a comment with the Sven's Egg about how many times the Swedish oak cask can be reused. That really does depend on the cask. We generally will use them at least 2 or 3 times, but it really does depend on the cask and how well the cask has taken to the whiskies. When our guys back at the distillery decide that the cask come to the end of its life, then obviously we look at what we can do with it, whether it's we use it in the shop, making some items, or whether it gets used to make the cork stoppers or whatever, but we'll recycle it as best we can. But yeah, I think, the Limousin as a swan song for our seasonals, yes, we've got Björkshab, and Björkshab will be around for quite a while. But I just feel it's a perfect way for it to finish. The luxury that's there is something that you just want to keep hold of. I'm actually now sort of thinking, when I get towards the end of knowing that the stocks are out there, I'm going to have to start being quite cheeky with some of my accounts and sort of like put a bottle to one side for me. I'll come back and buy it later on. Yes, I know I've already spoke to you.
And I've said no.
I know you have, but I'm sure I can buy it.
If anybody from Mackmyra is watching, just keep an eye on his stock when he's doing tasting events, because you might find it's like, the Limousin didn't turn up. You need to send another one. Yeah,
no, I think, but
because none of us do that.
But no, yeah. To be honest, I was so surprised at how this turned out. I expected it to be a lot lighter, maybe not as rich.
Yeah.
And actually, it's got such a depth of character. Might not be to everyone's.
Sorry, I've just seen your boss's comment on the private comment. Noted.
Yeah, we know that.
Oops, I might have got him in trouble.
Yeah, but yeah, to be honest, it is one of those things. I really, more than anything else, you've made me lose thought.
Brilliant.
Yeah, to be honest, like I said,
my plans have been scuppered.
Yeah. No, the Limousin, the richness that's there, the depth of character that's in there. I thought it would be quite a lot lighter than what it is. I've had quite a lot of cognac casks before, and they kind of end up being more on the lighter side, a little bit thinner.
They can either go really light and almost like no character at all, or they go really almost sugary sweet, like almost syrupy, almost even liqueur-y in some cases. I had really high expectations for this, because as soon as I found out Ferrand were involved, I was like, this better be good. This could be, because it's just one that I love. And fortunately, it met those expectations and exceeded them as well. Yeah. I think it's rich, it's decadent. It's one of those where it's like, if Björkshab was the last seasonal, it's a cracking whiskey, but it's light and floral and delicate. And as you say, this is one where it's like, this is kind of rich and decadent, and it's got that proper premium feel. Yeah. It's one of those whiskies that if you have that stereotypical image of you know, where does a real man drink whiskey? That sort of thing. It's kind of like it's a library full of books with big leather armchairs and maybe a cigar and a roaring log fire and all of that lot. And you've had a 7-course meal in a big manor house, and that's the type of whiskey that you want to sit while you discuss the ways of the world and everything like that. And I'm absolutely not going down that it's a man's whiskey. Don't even get me started on that. But I love the rich depth, complexity of this. It's so good.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's been so well received. You know, I'm sidestepping kind of the man's whiskey thing. Actually, I found that a lot of people that I've done the tasting with over the last couple of festivals I've done, you know, the ladies out there that love whiskey and are very knowledgeable about whiskey, I've loved this. You know, not because it's light and floral, but actually because it's rich, it's complex, and they love the complexity experience of it.
Yeah, it's that mouthfeel of it. It feels thick. It kind of feels rich and thick, and it's kind of like it goes towards a liqueur in terms of its mouthfeel, but it's still got so much fruitiness going on. It's got that spiciness, it's got sweetness, it's got like a, you know, but it's not cloying or, you know, syrupy or anything like that. It's brilliantly done. Yeah. It's absolutely magnificent.
The guys back at the distillery have done some amazing, you know, expressions over the years with the seasonals. And to be honest, the one thing that they, time after time after time, the one thing they really do is get that perfect balance between, you know, the sort of complexities, the flavors, sweetness, the savory. They always seem to hit that perfect balance, you know.
Yeah, this is actually a really good example of when we were talking earlier about the ABV, because I suspect that if this was bottled at like 43, it would actually be too sweet.
Yes.
I think if you knocked it down so that the alcohol level was, say, 43, and you had more of that sweetness that comes through from cognac casks, it would feel more syrupy and it would actually be too sweet. By getting it at that 46.1 that you guys bottle at, you still get a little bit of the bite coming through, which accentuates the spicy notes and everything like that. But if it was, say, 48, 50, it would potentially be a bit too spicy. So that's kind of why that level is pretty much bang on. It's, you know, if you went lower on that, I think it would be too sweet almost.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if it had been a bit of a higher ABV, it'd be a little bit too spicy, too much on the savoury side, a little lower, too sweet. So that 46.1 that our guys find is that perfect sweet spot for us, really is that perfect sweet spot.
Yeah, right.
So let's move on to the final whiskey of the night.
The Rook. This is the fun one. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, so I get asked quite a lot, you know, does Sweden have its own peat? Yes, we do. We only use the top layer of peat. We don't dig down and down and down, and we only do a small amount. We're one of the few distilleries throughout the globe that actually malt our own peated barley on site. Again, we're trying to be quite environmentally friendly in doing this process. So our, for want of a better word, smokehouse is basically an upcycled shipping container. You know, and there's our guy doing his job. It's a great place to go. We only do it twice a year. We only do it in sort of late spring and early autumn, just because that's kind of the right temperature, it can be too dry or too damp, depending on where any other time we want to do it. So, but we actually do malt our own barley on site. It's brand called Tipple. It's quite...
What did you just say?
It's called Tipple.
Oh, right. I thought you said something else. I was like, whoa.
Our barley's called
Family Tipple. Show, come on.
Our barley's called Tipple. Right. So, yeah. You know, the unpeated barley we get from Viking Maltings. You know, it's a company in South Sweden. Most of the barley comes from the central Sweden. Again, all Swedish ingredients. But when we're smoking, we don't just burn the peat. We actually put juniper branches and twigs on that fire, and we burn those with the peat. Across the power lines throughout Sweden, juniper grows and starts to interfere with them. So the Swedish government cut these down. We buy them off the Swedish government and burn them with our peat where possible. So for me, it's not a big peated whiskey, even though our malted barley is quite high. It's about 60 parts per million for the peated part. When we do a mash, we use 1,500 kilos of barley per mash. 1,150 kilos is unpeated, 350 kilos is peated. So it gets quite softened down as we go through that process. And for me, it's most that autumnal campfire note rather than that big peat hit. Don't think of your Islay whiskies. It's a lot softer. It's quite robust on the nose.
It is. I bloody love this, and I use this quite a lot. I had somebody come in a couple of days ago that was looking for something smoky, but he didn't want that medicinal Islay, and this absolutely hits it on the head in terms of you get smoke, but it's like you say, it's campfire in a wood, but there's also, it's like you've cooked something on it, and it's a bit like, and actually this reminds me of, and only because I've literally done the video review today, that Ardnamurchan cask strength, and I found myself saying that there's a slight herbal note to it as well, which I'm absolutely certain is the juniper twigs, and it's sort of there in the Ardnamurchan, and I likened it to having being on a beach where you've done like a leg of lamb that's got rosemary tied to it, and it's the meat juices with the rosemary has dripped down into the ashes. So you have that campfire barbecue, but it's not necessarily a meaty barbecue. It's more of a slightly herbal feel to it as well. And I absolutely adore that slightly herbal, which has to be the juniper twigs. It can't be anything else in my head, is what gives you, it's slightly floral, it's slightly herbal, it's slightly drying, but it doesn't knock everything kind of off kilter. And it's more on the nose than it is on the palate, because on the palate you then get that fruitiness coming through, which is that Mackmyra style. Yeah,
and like I said, on the nose, it feels quite robust. You know, it feels like it's going to be quite a big peated smoky whiskey. But then,
shush, Alexa, get out of it. Sorry about that. My Alexa decided. Shut up, Alexa, off. Alexa, how rude. Sorry about that, people. We're back. Alexa decided that Alexa wants in on the action.
Yes. So yeah, but for me, on the nose, like I said, it's quite robust. It feels like it's going to be quite a big peated whiskey. But then as soon as, like Ben said, when you take that first sip, you get that smokiness. It feels a lot softer. Like I said, for me and my personal, I love my peated whiskies. But it's quite a more gentle one. That's more smoky for me rather than the peat hit. The peat's there in the background, but quite gentle, quite soft.
Yeah.
You get that herbalness and the fruitiness that is our DNA all the way through. I just love the way it works. It's such, for me, this is one that I could quite happily use to introduce people to peated whiskies.
Definitely. Yeah.
I've done a lot of tastings over the years where people come up to me and said they don't like peated whiskey, and they'll ask you what they've tried, and they'll name quite a strong Islay whiskey that's the only one they've ever tried. And then you actually ask them to try something a little bit different, a little bit softer, and they realise that actually there's more to it, and actually there is something there that they like. That's a smoky whiskey.
Yeah.
Peated whiskey.
Yeah. So I kind of made a bit of a balls up on this because I actually already had this on a bit of a price cut. I already had this on the deal. So the Rook is normally $44.99, but I'd actually already put a price cut on down to $39.99. But then it was like, oh, what the hell? So you'll actually get this at technically a tenner off what I'd normally sell it for, because you'd still get your £5 off this down to $34.99, which is ridiculous. I'm an idiot, but there we go. And yeah, you would also get that miniature of the Oak stuff. So the code is running across the bottom there. I love this. I've always loved Rook. I think it's an absolute, and as you say, it's a really good introduction to what smoky whiskies can be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that medicinal note that Islay has. You know, I've had, in my years of working in the whiskey shop and things like that, I've had people coming and going, oh, all whiskey tastes the same. It tastes like iodine. And it's because the only whiskey they've ever had was Lefroy, Ardbeg, something like that. Or, you know, I got this bottle and it was corked. Actually, that's what it's supposed to taste like. What? Yes, it's supposed to taste like that. This has that slightly softer, slightly sweeter. There's a little bit of menthol in there, but there's that herbal note in there. It's got, again, it's one of those noses that you can keep nosing it, and it keeps changing every single time.
And again, it's another one that works really well. Just putting a few drops of water in there really starts to open it up. But it's just, I think it's got a nice mix, like me and Ben have been saying through the night. We've got a nice mix of, you know, there's sweetness there, there's fruitiness there, there's that savoury side. Like we said, it's not quite a cooked
sea
meat
salt type thing as well. Definitely like a slightly coastal feel to it as well.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I love my peated whiskies. I have a colleague to blame for going back to peated whiskies. One and only Shilton Amida dragged
Is
me
he
back.
still on the call, or have you kicked him off?
I might have kicked him off, but he dragged me into
Too late,
peated
right.
whiskies again. But yeah, and to be honest, Svensk Rock is one of those guys that I take to a lot of tastings with family and friends, because they're kind of not big on the peated whiskies, and actually they really do like the Svensk Rock. It works really well for them. They realise that actually a peated whiskey doesn't have to be just about the peat. You can have other things in there. You can have the cask influence, the distiller. So it does work really, really well.
Yeah. Apart from when you get somebody, and this actually happened, somebody turned around and I said, oh, you know, it's they use juniper wood in it as well. And she was like, oh, does that mean it tastes like a gin? I was like, no, unfortunately, no, sorry. No. I mean, you guys do a gin. We do. But yeah, it was, I was like, no, this doesn't taste like a gin. But yeah, it's that influence is, you can tell it's there. That's what I love about it, is it's not like a kind of a throwaway thing, like, oh, you know, we use peat, but we also use this, and you have no idea it's in there. It absolutely makes a difference.
Yeah. But that's been the whiskies tonight, guys. I really enjoyed going through these with you. Love the comments, love the thing, you know, the inputs you guys are putting. You put your teeth back in.
Yeah.
I really hope you've enjoyed it. We will have another one of these coming up in the near future. My esteemed colleague Richard should be hosting that one, I believe. I'm not sure who his co-host will be, but I'm sure we'll find out soon.
Look, I'm here if you need me. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're too expensive.
Expensive? So charge nothing.
So guys, I hope you've enjoyed tonight. I really, really enjoyed this whole.
That is really, really good. Like, no lie, that's absolutely amazing, that cocktail with the egg.
Yeah, and please, if you really like this, jump back on, rewatch the show, and you can get the ingredients that Ben's used for that cocktail. It is stunning, you know, really worth trying. Again, thank you very much, Ben, for hosting me in your wonderful shop.
No problem at all, mate.
Sure.
Absolute pleasure.
Thanks for offering our wonderful guests amazing offer for our whiskies.
Yes, do you want me to do a reminder?
Please do a reminder.
Right, okay. That was almost like we rehearsed it, wasn't it? So, so the Mac is, if you use the code TSS Mackmyra, all capital letters, because I think it is case sensitive. So the Mac is normally $39.99. That goes down to $34.99. You can do maths, you can figure it out. So the Brooks, I need to figure it out. So if you do want some Brooks and you want to buy it from me, I absolutely understand it. If you want to go elsewhere, that's not a problem at all. But if I have to order some in, so if I run out of stock of anything, because I've not got many bottles of Limousin left, if you go and it says it's out of stock, there is a button which you would hit to say purchase. That says notify me when back in stock. I get an email to say, tell me when it's back in stock. So anybody that's on this call, drop me a line, press that button, put your email address in, and then we can literally get it within a couple of days. I can order it from these guys. It will come in. So what we're on Thursday, should be in on Monday, should be on Monday. All right. So it will come in and you'll be able to buy it, use the code, get the money off. And, you know, rather than going to other places, it's really appreciated if you can get it from me. So, you know, I will get the stock in. I keep saying we, it's me. It's literally me on my own. So the stock will come in. If I'm out of stock, if I sell through, you will still be able to use the code. I'll keep it running and you'll get that discount. So the Brooks, let me know if you want to get some in, to get it off me, and I'll get some in, and I'll knock a $5 off whatever it is. I'll up it to 70 quid, and then I'll make more money. I won't, obviously. So the Eck is normally $49.99 down to $45. The Limousin and also the Vieux is part of that deal. So they're all both $59.99, comes down to $54.99, and then the Svensk Rook is $44.99 down to $39.99, and then you'll get another $5 off. So it'll be down to $34.99. If you buy a Mac, an Eck, and a Rook, you will also get a miniature of Vieux. Probably shouldn't hold it like that. That might be dangerous. But yes, it will. You'll get a miniature of that as well, because I'm just that nice.
So guys, thank you very much for your time. Really enjoyed hosting you guys again, and thank you very much again, Ben, for
Good to see you again, mate. Yep.
Good to see you, and money being post.
Thanks very much. It's only a $5.
Until next time, guys, hope you've enjoyed, and we will catch up with you again soon.
We do double thumbs up.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers all. Thanks very much.